Is that the way that you started out, or did you just want to make something cool for yourself?
Well, it was a joke. I mean, I was having a hilarious time, These people are giving me a hard time when they're drunk, could be a 400-pound guy. Um, and I just reduce him to like tears with this sauce. And me and my staff thought that was the most hilarious thing ever. Um, and so, no, it's sort of like, it's partly that and partly that I sort of tapped in through my restaurant, like to this group of people that the chili heads. And I was like, wow, this thing, sample, 72A here, which is incredibly hot, which we made yesterday,
Is that your scorpion sauce?
or whatever it is, it's just a really hot version we make at the restaurant, let's say. It reduced, the last 32 people that tried it find it inedible and incredibly painful.
So the next person.
So the next person is a chili head. And this person tastes the sauce that no one else could bear, and they love it. And they just think it's great, and they keep eating it. And you're just like, wow, how could you possibly do that? Are you from another planet? I mean, what's different about you? And so I didn't really know about that group until that point. And so it was sort of fun. Like you got the jokey group that you could really burn, and then you got the chili head group that like has found nirvana. And both groups have really helped us and supported us over the years. But that's really what got started, is sort of playing around with those two groups of people.
Yeah, so you had the extreme product, and people would tell them about it. I tried Dave's sauce, I got burned. I tried Dave's sauce, I loved it.
Oh yeah, I mean like, or you got this really tough guy, and he takes the sauce, he starts crying, and everyone's like, wow, man, did you see Joe? He was crying like a baby. That was so funny.
Did you ever run a fail competition at the restaurant where if you can't handle the sauce, your crying picture goes on the wall?
Yeah, we sort of drew a fine line there because at some point we were sort of worried like about liability because it's kind of an odd thing, chili heat, because it's not real heat. I mean, it can't physically burn you, but it could potentially give someone a heart or respiratory problem. So we've always sort of been careful about that, but certainly some of our customers have these wing competitions where they use our sauce, and you'll have like 20 people and 18 of them will throw up, and it's just sort of like, yee.
And they have to sign waivers usually. I've had to do that.
Yeah, I mean, in our first few years we had waivers, but we designed the waiver to be funny, you know. It wasn't really
This
a
is a
waiver.
joke.
Our attorney would have like torn it up and said, "What kind of waiver is that?" Or said, "It's a funny kind of waiver. That's what kind it is." So yeah, it was all part of the fun and marketing.
So now that you're doing marketing with the pasta sauce and the hot sauce, how do you communicate your message?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting one. So 8, 9 years ago, something like that, we were the cover article on Inc. magazine, and it was sort of that same sort of, gosh, what do? You've got this white label brand for pasta sauce that's actually appeals more, probably I would say 60% to women, 40% to men, and then you got these insanity in your face hot sauces that are probably 70 to 80% men. And one's more crazy and fun, and one's more serious, high end, but innovative. And they're sort of under the same brand. So it's much trickier to market with our current structure. And if we were like sitting up in with our charts like MBA business people and big companies, we would have planned this out better. But
Well, are you an intuitive person?
I'm intuitive, but I'm also at times impulsive.
Hmm.
So sometimes I get myself in funky situations.
Are you intuitive in your business? Do you find business intuitive?
I think so. I think so. Most aspects of it. You know, I think as a business person, sometimes you have uh, um, tension between what you should do and what you want to do. Like I know certainly there have been lots of things over time I know I could have done to make the business more successful, but they felt wrong.
Okay,
Um,
so you didn't do them.
I didn't do them. Um, so yeah, and that's people make different decisions depending on where they are with, that. And in the food world, it's like how much do you really care about your consumer's health, and how much do you really care about the environment, and how much you really care about being honest and in your packaging and how you market, and and I think businesses a lot of times fall more in the gray zone, and sometimes on the wrong side of the gray zone. And I understand as we've grown and gotten a lot bigger than we were, that there's certainly more instances where there's, when it's just a $10 decision, it's easier to do the right thing. But when it's going to save you $150,000, you pause for a second longer. And some people don't pause; they just go for the money.
Okay. What are your priorities in business?
Well, that's interesting. So, that's one of the challenges I found with the company is, making really cool sauces is fun. And I think in some way you do make people's eating experience more interesting and give them some joy from like fun of wow, that was cool to burn myself. But at some level, I always think, well, gosh, I'm not really curing cancer though, and I think there's part of me that would like to cure cancer. So, I think that's having the same business for 20 years. There's part of me that sort of wants to move the business more towards like, okay, Americans more than Canadians we're getting pretty heavy and diabetic and all these things, and how can we move it away from that? But our clear priority is always to have the best flavor, the best product, the best tasting product. And so like, how do you have the best tasting product, be respectful to the environment, have some of that, let's cure cancer kind of ethos in there, and, try to grow and make money. And so it's trying to balance all those things together that is tough.
How do you come up with your products? I think it sort of comes in fits and starts, the product ideas. We certainly have tried to go to our consumers and ask them, and we really haven't gotten a lot of ideas that way. So it's really a matter of, okay, let's look at pasta sauces. Well, they're all the same 7 sauces. They're all these red sauces, marinara, arrabbiata, far diavolo, whatever. Okay, is there something else we can do in that realm? So we did a yellow tomato pasta sauce. We did heirloom tomato pasta sauce. We did a butternut squash-based pasta sauce. We did sort of a Indian Thai pasta sauce. Because pasta is this sort of neutral thing, right? It's a good flavor carrier, but it's sort of flexible as to what you can put on it. So we just sort of sit down and say, gosh, what could we do different? And what are our guide rails? Like, it can't be $30 a jar. So yeah, how much a jar could it be? And how could we do this? We have to produce it in a facility, and what are their limitations? And so we've compared notes with other people over time, and like, we're like the slowest for our size on developing products, because we'll go through like 50, 100 iterations on a product to develop it, as opposed to like 8 or 5, which like most companies. And you want to get it right.
We want to get it right, and we'll go through 60 and then can a project and just say forget it, because we just don't think it'll come through in the way we want.
What is your criteria for going ahead with a product?
Well, I mean, so it has to achieve a flavor that we think is great. It has to be affordable on the shelf, not meaning average price. It's a premium price point,
and not $30 a can. Exactly.
So it has to be, that it has to be safe, and shelf stable usually for us. We have to think there's some market for it. It can't be so esoteric that nobody's actually going to buy it. So it's, the combination of those things, something fantastic that people will buy that, we can actually make a little money on too. And if it's incredible product and
people are going to be talking about it, but no one will buy it, then maybe it's something we should just launch as a media project.
Hmm.
And so, we do some of that too.
How do you determine whether it's going to be a media project or not?
Well, I guess how interesting is it? If it's just interesting and it has no real market potential, then it's more of a media project. If it has lots of market potential and is interesting, then
That's the perfect.
That's the holy grail right there, because then you're just selling your product and people are talking about you.
Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to like, share, and comment below. Subscribe to this channel for more interviews, and if you want to go further and be live on the interviews, you can go to mmt.tv/live to find out how. Like on Facebook and follow on Twitter to ask your questions, and be sure to get on the mailing list. Go to mmt.tv to get access to all the things that are not contained in these interviews. All the links are mentioned below, and until next time, break the rules, change the game, and be a rock star.